Hi, I'm Colin from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of the Hymer B534. So as I start the walk round on the driver's side of the vehicle first locker you get to is your gas locker, so this is your LPG. So on this vehicle it's been fitted previously with a gas flow system, so you've got two 13 bottles there. So to turn these on and off, just by these two we can turn the bottle on and off, and you can see the levels on the top where the arrow's pointing into the green. But you can fill this system at any LPG centre that sells LPG, and your filler is just here. So it's a bayonet fitting. So what you'd do is you'd get the filler, twist it onto the bayonet fitting, pull the trigger back, and then press the button on the display panel of the pump until simply it doesn't take any more. And for this system you're probably looking at about £30, £35 to fill. But remember to turn your gas off before you start travelling. Your habitation door opens with the key along with all your lockers, and you do have your step switch just inside to bring in and out the step. You've got your weight plate of your Hymer, so this is your Hymer sticker, so your second stage weight plate, so it tells you it's 3.5 tonne with a 5.5 tonne towing limit, which is combined. Two fridge vents, your external barbecue point, so that works off the bottles, so there's a red bullfinch connection in the cutlery drawer. To pop that on you'll need some orange rubber gas hosing and some Jubilee clips to connect it to your Caddock or external barbecue, and you can use them to supply the bottles on board. Here you have your fresh water intake, so go and get yourself a hose pipe with some hose pipe connections, as it's mainly just a brass tap on site. It's a lockable cap. Pop your flat end of your hose pipe in here and wait until it either overflows or until you're happy you've got enough water on board, which you can see on your main control panel. The waste outlets there, obviously the waste handle is in the floor to open the valve, which I'll show you inside, but drive over the grid on the way out of your site and deposit your waste water. Got your garage, so you do have tethering points in the floor, along with your own unwinding handle at the back and your tool kit. On the back of the vehicle you've got your high level brake light, above that you've got your reversing camera, and then you do have your bike rack. So to operate your bike rack, so you put your bikes on the rails, put the straps through the spokes to tighten the bike to the rail, and then first bike and second bike, these go through your crossbars just to hold the centre of the bike up. And then we do advise you put some sort of bike lock around the bikes, just so if you leave the bikes on the van unattended, the bikes are safe. You've got your other side to your garage, and you can see that you've got your living carpets in there. Here you have your max view external TV point, so if you want on a super site you can carry a length of coax and pop it into here. It's an F-type connection, so you need a satellite type connection to go into there, and you can use their aerial. Your boiler flue for your boiler, so just make sure that this is obstruction free at all times. It allows the fumes out when operating on gas. Cassette locker, so to open the cassette and take it out, lift the orange handle, or should I say green on this one, and slide it out. You've then got some wheels so you can drag it to the waste disposal point, and then all you need to do is take the green cap off, press the green button at the back, tip it out. Once you've tipped it out, put some water in, give it a rinse, and then put a cap full of either the green or the blue liquid into the cassette, and it's good to use. Ask your site which liquid they prefer to use, because most now want the green because it's more environmentally friendly than the blue. Hook the vehicle up for charging at home or charging on a site. So you get your hooker blade, lift the collar, always hook the van first, then the sight, and do it in reverse order when unhooking, but press the blue clip down just to unhook the vehicle. And then you do have your diesel, which opens with the Hymer key for filling with diesel fuel. The door opens manually on the passenger door. Underneath the floor in the cab is where the engine battery lives. And then just beside here is your bonnet release, so you can pop the bonnet. And the bonnet comes down. Main point you're going to ever need is your screen washer. Top your screen washer up, it's just there. And then you've got your coolant, your brake fluid, your power steering fluids behind your coolant. And then should you ever need to jump start the vehicle, you'd earth off this point here. And then if you just lift this cover up, you can put a positive there for giving or receiving a jump start, as your engine battery is underneath the cab floor. And then there, just the standard weight plate from when it was a van, and then this is your paint code for the vehicle. To operate the fuel on Mr. Awning, get your winding handle, which is in the garage, pop it in at the back here, and then you want to wind the awning out until you can reach inside of the canopy, as there's two legs. So about there, and then get your legs down at the first opportunity by pressing here. It's on a spring, legs will fold down. Adjust the telescopic height of the awning to what you want, and then lift this plastic clip up. You've got feet at the bottom, so you can peg that down once you've got it out to the distance that you want it out. So both legs down for the first opportunity, just the height, then wind and walk the awning out until you're happy you've got it out far enough, so you can wind it out. Just every so often just keep moving the legs, but don't use the awning if the wind speeds are above 15 miles an hour. If you leave the vehicle unattended or go to bed, bring the awning up in, and then you do have a sea rail on this van as well that's been fitted, so if you wanted to use an air awning, which is a drive-away awning for extra space, it fits to that rail there. And then always bring your awning back in, wind it in a little bit before, and then you can start folding your legs back away. Wind it all the way in. And then to get your winding handle out, just push, twist, and it will come out, release without the awning being hooked. To operate your 12-volt control panel, so if you're hooked up, you'll have this light at the back which looks like a hooker blade, which means you are receiving two 30-volt, which is mains electric. If you didn't have that light on, it will just be off your 12-volt leisure battery. And then to turn on and off this panel, you just push the button in and wait for the green light to come on, which means the panel's on. And then you can scroll from the back, which is the leisure battery reading. Take the hook out to get a true reading of the leisure battery. Then you've got your fresh water reading, wastewater, and then the vehicle battery at the front of the picture of the van, which is your van battery reading. So again, take the hook out and you'll be able to get a true reading of where your batteries are situated. To operate your heating and hot water system, it's through the Truma Combi E dial. So at the top you've got which energy source you want to use. So you've got at the very top two wiggly lines, which is 2 kilowatts of mains 230-volt power. So that's 1500 watts, which you'd use on most sites throughout the UK. And then you've got 1 kilowatt, which is 750 watts of mains power, which you may have to use on smaller CL sites or abroad if you're drawing too much current of electricity by having too many things on in the van. And then you've got gas, which is the gas flame, which you'd use if you were wild camping and weren't on mains power, because you couldn't heat your vehicle or your water any other way than using gas if you weren't hooked up. And then you've got gas and 1 kilowatt of electric and gas and 2 kilowatts of electric at the bottom. You'd use gas and 2 kilowatts of electric more if you were in a colder country or you were away in the winter and you were in desperate need of heating either the water or the vehicle or both together. This source obviously doubles the time it takes to heat the water or the vehicle. Because you're using both sources, it'll reduce the time for the vehicle or the water to get warm. Here you have your 1 to 5 is your thermostat, so 5 is equivalent to 30 degrees. So you can select what temperature you want the inside of the van to be on the dial at the front. And then you do have 60 degrees of heating your water, 40 degrees of heating your water, off in the middle, and then you've got gas, or should I say you've got water, and heating together on 60 degrees, and the next source up is just heating on its own. So if you were away using the van for the day and you'd already winterized the vehicle, you drained the boiler down, drained everything off, but you were sitting down the coast having some fish and chips and you didn't want to sit in a cold van, as long as you've got gas on board you can put the heating on without having any water in the tanks. To operate your Dometic fridge freezer, so you turn on and off here. And then you've got 3 sources, so you've got the picture of the hookup, which is mains 230 volt, so it'll act as a household fridge freezer. Whether you're at home and you're pre-chilling or you're on site, you'd use electric. Then you'd use gas, which is this one here, if you were wild camping and you weren't hooked up, because you'd have no other way of heating or cooling, should I say, your fridge than on gas. And then the battery setting, it's got to be pre-chilled beforehand on either gas or electric, and then you can pop it on the battery setting, and when you travel, the vehicle battery will keep the fridge at the same temperature it was at, so it keeps the shopper nice and fresh until you either hook back up or you go onto gas. But you'll notice there's a little A at the end, and if you press A, it stands for automatic energy selection. So what it will do is it'll skip through the best source available, so it'll go to hookup if you're hooked up. If you're not hooked up, it'll switch on to gas automatically, and then if you start the engine, it'll go over to the 12 volt setting, which is a feed from the engine alternator, which basically just keeps your fridge at as a giant cool box until you either go back onto gas or electric. But you have to pre-chill beforehand, so if you are lucky enough to keep this at home, a few days before you'll probably want to hook the van up just to charge the leisure batteries and pop the fridge on. Allow that to chill, and then the night before put your shopping in. Allow that to, anywhere between 8 to 12 hours just to chill down before you drive off. And as long as it's on A, as soon as the engine's started, it'll act as a cool box, keep all the shopper nice and fresh until you arrive on your site. And you can go back onto electric or gas, and obviously your shopping's nice and edible and fresh. This is just your temperature, so when pre-chilling, have it on 5, turn it down to 3 or 4. Once you've got your shopping in, just because on 5 it sometimes can freeze the fridge. And obviously this is your fridge freezer. And what you want to do is, once you've finished using it, you just want to take everything out of it, apart from the long life stuff that you can leave in and the sealed, and it's not going to smell, it's not going to go off. you can leave that in your fridge, but you'll want to leave the door open. So what you need to do is on the light is a little press toggle, and these two toggles then come out the front, and it will hold the door a slight jar so that air circulation goes in and out of the fridge. To operate your hob, you've got 3 gas burners. Lift the cover off and then you'll be able to put 1, 2, the back. So you've got 3 lit gas burners there. Turn them off, allow them to cool until they're cool enough to touch before you put the glass lids down, because the heat may shatter these if it's too warm. Pressing the catches in, you can release the locker doors, and you do have storage in the overhead compartments. Cutlery tray with a 3-pin plug, which is mains power. Your kitchen lights, and if you lift this up, to operate your oven, so it's an oven and grill, so you can turn your grill on first, and then if you just keep it held in for a little longer, and then the grill will stay lit. And then below the grill you do have your oven at the bottom. So underneath the small hatch in the floor beside the bathroom and the rear lounge, just underneath here you've got what's known as your Truma anti-frost drain down valve. So this drains off your boiler. So at 3 degrees this will automatically drop the water out when the vehicle is not in use. So this reacts to the temperature of 3 degrees and will open. But it's always recommended that you check this or drain it down first when you're packing the van away for the winter, where you want to winterize it and leave no water in. So you drain your fresh, your waste, your boiler, leave all your taps open throughout the vehicle. So if you want to manually open this valve, what you've got to do is the blue diamond at the top, you turn it, the small blue button at the bottom will pop out, and this is the valve open. 10 litres of water will drain directly out underneath the chassis, and then to close, turn it back, press the button in. Once the button stays in, this is it shut. But remember, open this valve and drain it off, because you don't want the boiler to freeze with any water in, because it is an expensive mistake to make. So drain that off, and then you can open the lines here. So this is a hot water drain off line, so you just crack that blue valve open, and that will drain off any water that's sitting in the hot water pipelines. Now in the washroom, so you've got your large shower cubicle, but just make sure that your doors are press-studded back before you start travelling. This keeps them nice and secure and stops them from causing any damage or making any noise when they're on the road. And then you've got your shower hose there. So best thing to do is when winterizing is unscrew the shower head from the hose and lie the hose in the shower tray with the mixer taps throughout the van open, so that any water that's in any pipelines, either in here or behind the furniture, will drain down by being allowed to just dribble out via the waste. Got a blackout blind and a fly screen on the skylight, and then open the skylight, turn this, push it up, but make sure that it's fastened down securely before you travel. But it will bring a nice bit of ventilation into the washroom. Toilet roll holder on the inside of your toiletry cabinet, so you can pop it through there and stop it from getting wet. Just a hatch for a technician to service any pipes, so there's nothing you really need to know under there. Light for your washrooms just here. See, this shows that your hot water system is working as your water is really warm there. You've got more toiletry space, there's 2 sink plugs in there as well for you. And then to operate your toilet, so what you need to do is press the blue button. You'll get fresh water flush, put a little bit of water in. The cassette keeps the blade between the toilet and the cassette, the seal, lubricated. And then to open the blade, this is your blade handle here, so always put some water in first and then open the cassette before you're using it. So open it, slide this handle to the right. Use the toilet, then after you've used the toilet, give it a flush. And then you want to close the cassette off so that when the cassette indicates it's full, which you'll get 3 lights here instead of just 1, as it goes up in its stages and tells you how full it is. Once you get 3, it means it's time to take it out. If you do it in this routine, when the blade's always shut, you'll always get the cassette out, but when the blade's open, you'll never get the cassette out because the mechanism is engaged. So make sure that it's shut before you pull the cassette out. Underneath the hatch, underneath the table in the back, so this is your freshwater tank. So this valve here opens the tank. So if you open that 3/4 of the way to the left, it'll drain off all the water in the tank apart from 20 litres, which it tells you here. So 20 litres will give you enough water to use the taps, toilet, have a cup of tea, make some food when you're on a longer journey. But don't carry a full tank unless you don't necessarily need to, unless you're wild camping. 20 litres is enough to do have a cup of tea, use the toilet, stop off. But if you want to open it fully, it's 2 full turns on the valve to the left to open, and that'll drain off all the water in the tank. And then obviously it's 2 full turns to the right to close it if you want to fill it back with water. But make sure that this is drained off in the winter, as you wouldn't want the water to freeze in the tank, because it can cause damage and your tank may need to then be replaced, which can be an expensive job. So drain it off, drain everything off, make sure there's no water left in the vehicle. To open the waste, so this is the waste valve opening handle. So drive over the grid on the way out of your site, which is the waste disposal site, and then just open it up. So put it in the open position, and this will drain off any water that you've put down the plug hole. So taps, shower, dishes water, cups of tea, anything like that goes into here. And again, you want to make sure that this is fully drained off in the winter, as you don't want the water to freeze. So to make the bed at the back, what you've got to do is, there's a handle underneath the table. So this handle, so when it's up like that, the table's locked. So bring it into the centre. The table is now unlocked. So what you can do is, you can then push your weight down on the table, and then you want to turn that handle back into the locked position, which locks the table down. And then if you put your cushions like so, you do have your double bed across the width of the vehicle, but you can remove the back cushions here to create more space, and it'll give you more like a king size bed instead of a double. Opposite the kitchen, You do have your large wardrobe, so you've got a hanging rail there and some storage. You've also got a shoe horn, which on the other end also helps you open the skylights. So what you do with the skylight is you can hook this onto here, turn it and push it up, bring it down, turn it, and then take the shoe horn back off, so it can help both ways. And then that just slides in there. And further down, just behind the passenger seat now, if you take this panel off, you've got your electric block unit. So this is all your 12-volt fuses. So it is a good idea to carry some spares, just in case one fuse does blow. They're just standard blade fuses, not the micro fuses, just the standard size ones. So you'll need 10s, 15s, 20s, 25s and fuses. So you'll just need a mixture of fuses there, and then you've got a few at the bottom here which are just off your batteries, so 10s and 2s. And then if you lift this up, at the far back you've got your trips on mains electric. So if you trip the vehicle out, try here before you try your sight, and you've got another big 50 amp breaker fuse for the battery. So to operate the drop down bed above the cab, first of all you'll need to fold your seats. So to fold your seats, on the sides you've got this black knob. Slide the seats down, folds the backs down, and then you'll be able to loosen the seat belt off the bed and simply fold down, pop your ladder on the front, and you've got your bed with 2 reading lights each side. But when you put your bed back up, you can leave a duvet up there, but just take your pillows off and then make sure you clip it back up on the strap there. To lock your habitation door from inside, all you need to do is lift this up to the red, which means it's locked, and then as soon as you go to the green, the door will open. And then if you do have your step switch there, so you can pop your step out, should you've had the engine running, the step will retract. So now in the cab, to the right of the driver's seat, you do have your handbrake, which is just down here, and you've got some storage in the sideboard unit. And then you've got the switch for the step. So if you start the engine, you'll get a buzzing noise if you haven't retracted the step from the habitation door. But you don't need to then get up and press that switch. You can put the step in from here, but you just can't put it out from here, so you would have to then press it by the door to put the step back out once the engine's knocked off, as it will not come out should the engine be on. Heated mirrors switch for your coach style mirrors, and then you've got adjustment for both big mirrors on both sides. Your small ones, being the blind spot, is manually adjustable. Magnetic end, so just clips up there to the A-pillars, and that is your side windows blacked out. And then you do exactly the same for your windscreen. But there's 2, top and bottom, so pull that out in the middle, top, bottom, clip that together magnetically, and that would be the cab blacked out. And you do the same for this side. Headlight adjustment, and then you've got your wiper stalk, but on the end of the wiper stalk is the trip computer. So what you can do is you can go through your average and instant consumption, your travelling times, your distance, how much range you've got in the fuel tank, and then should you want to restart it or reset it even, you just press and hold. Lights and indicators, and then at the bottom you've got cruise control. So it's off, you turn it to on, you get the little green light in the bottom of the rev counter, it says cruise on. Get your desired speed, and then you'd push up to set, push up to speed up, pull it down to slow down, and then should you need to cancel, you can either hit the foot brake, hit the end of the stalk, and then hit it again, and it'll go to the last speed and it'll resume the speed that it was previously at before the engine was turned off. Once the engine has been turned off, it doesn't memorize the last speed the cruise control was set at, so you'd have to reset it again. So just push it back up. 6-speed manual gearbox with lift the collar into reverse, which will bring on your reverse camera, but your reverse camera's on permanently, which is this little screen here on the dash. Storage, which is lockable via the key. Glove box in there, and then a heated and cooled glove box on the top via the air conditioning, which I'll go through in a second. So you've got your lock and unlocks of the doors, front and rear fog lights, hazards, air conditioning unit, so to operate the cab heating. This is your temperature here, goes all the way to high, which is 32. Whether you want it at the screen, your face or your feet, this is your distribution. Whether you want it recirculated, whether you want it on max demist, or you want it off, or you want the aircon on, and this is your fan speed. It goes up the scale here. To operate your radio, which is just FM, 3.5mm jack, USB or CD. So press SRC to skip through the various different sources. Once you find your favourite radio station, just press and hold 1 to 6 and you can save the station. It will go beep and it'll save it as a preset on there. And if you want to manually lock this door, you just push the handle in and that locks there. Obviously you've got electric window on this side,